Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Harrogate series. Harrogate is a large borough, one of the 11 districts of North Yorkshire. It's got 139 civil parishes. Which one are we in this episode? Welcome back to Harrogate, folks. Don't look now, but it seems to be blue sky is appearing up there, which is something of a miracle. Is there going to be a great big ball of flaming fire up there as well? Seldom seen in this country. Well, who knows? I've definitely ditched the hat and the gloves. Don't need them in this one because it's too warm for it now. Welcome to another village which is quite small, but it's got plenty of history. It's all to do with the Radcliffes in this place. Welcome to Follifoot. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Follifoot, place of the horse fight. This week in Harrogate, I've got for you what has become my favourite village so far in the district. This is Follifoot, arguably just as historic as Spofforth, but for some very different reasons. Follifoot is a small village located on a shallow incline. It's situated just south of the A658, which bypasses it, and 4 miles southeast of Harrogate. The peculiar village name is all to do with horses, because equine sports were popular in these parts. It wasn't listed in the Domesday Book, and so the earliest known records date from the 12th century, when it was named Pholifet. Since the 19th century, this one has been associated with the Radcliffe family, who occupied the Rudding Park Estate. As such, at the centre of the village, there stands the enormous entrance to the park, known simply as the Rudding Gates. It's a landmark you would struggle to miss. Also in the 19th century, the village was a thriving community supported by such commerce as the flax industry, tanning, tailors, joiners, a wheelwright, cordwainers and blacksmiths. Now businesses are few, but there's still 2 pubs, a shop and a school. Oh, and by the way, this one has nothing to do with the 1970s TV series Follifoot, in case you were wondering. Ironically though, that was produced by Yorkshire Television, literally just down the road. Let's go. We start with a drive into Follifoot along the lane from Spofforth, and in doing so you pass through the tiny hamlet of Aiton. This falls within the southeastern reaches of the parish boundaries. From a historical standpoint, this place has to go down as being one of the least recorded in the country. Aiton has literally no records at all. I couldn't even tell you what the name of the place means. With nothing to draw upon, this drive into Follifoot is literally just that, a drive, so enjoy the countryside for a few seconds as we get ready for our main walk. Our start point is at a playground at the western end of Follifoot. This is Folly Fields, a brand new recreational space for the residents of the village. Follifoot's community life is generally based around the village hall, but there'd always been a need for an open space such as this. So, thanks to the hard work of the Fofrap committee who made its creation possible, in September 2017, Folly Fields opened, and it's never looked back. Folly Fields can be found on Radcliffe Close. This street takes its name from the Radcliffe family, who lived nearby on the Rudding Park Estate. Let's head east towards the village centre. Look north on Pannell Road and you'll see the Cricket Club. This was established in 1846, making it one of the oldest clubs in England. Cricket has been played here continuously ever since, excepting wartime. The Townsend family, who we'll meet later, often claim that their ancestors figured in Follifoot's very first cricket team. Outside the gates is a bench dedicated to former player Colin Wright. Not Out 71 is a nice touch. You can catch a bus at the cricket club too. Follifoot is served by the X70 between Harrogate and Wetherby. The village has two pubs, both of which are Sam Smith's establishments. The first to meet along our route is the Radcliffe Arms, named in honour of the family. This features 3 elegantly decorated rooms. They are a formal dining room at one end, a cosy bar with posh leather armchairs in the middle, and a more open bar with furniture at the other end, which can also accommodate diners. Once you get past this, the village starts to feel contained because the road narrows. This is evident at 3 points in Follifoot, at the Radcliffe Arms, the Priory and the Horse Pond Beck. Now we're at a small green at the top of the hill which Main Street runs up the side of. In times past, Anglo-Saxon remains have been discovered in and near to the village. Here's one of them. This cross is Saxon, dating from the 7th or 8th century. It's now proudly displayed at the junction after it was found in the Rudding Park Estate. Before you here is the estate's south gatehouse, more commonly known as the Rudding Gates. The estate is separated from the village by the A658 Harrogate bypass. We'll talk about what it contains in more detail in a short while. After passing that collection of lovely old buildings, Pannell Road has become Plompton Road, and we find ourselves at the church. This one, a small building in comparison to many, is dedicated to St Joseph and St James. It was opened on the 22nd of October 1848 after Sir Joseph Radcliffe, the owner of Rudding Park at that time, gave up part of the estate. The church stands on what was known as Longlands Field. A Grade 2 listed building, it now contains 3 stained glass windows dedicated to the memory of the man who made its construction possible. Next, we're off to find a footpath. So Handley, there's a map here and I can show you the path we're following. We are there on this path opposite the church, which is there. We're going to follow this path here, bear left so that it comes down to this road here, and then we're just following this road all the way back up to the Rudding Gates, and that's pretty much the route in a nutshell. Because we're on a hill here which rises to a height of 600 feet above sea level, the views both in and around Follifoot can be quite spectacular. From the village you can see such landmarks as the Kilburn White Horse, Allerton Park, Garraby Hill, Tadcaster and even York Minster. And on a day like today it looks great. This path runs downhill towards the Horse Pond Beck, whose name reflects Follifoot's long association with equine sports. Horse fighting was popular in medieval times, and Follifoot was probably a centre for the training of horses and the staging of fights. Following the beck brings you to the end of Main Street and this peaceful garden on a bend. I was taken here by a little shelter at this point, built by the village in 1964, according to its wooden sign. Main Street has many gorgeous houses and barns, and almost all of them are built entirely of local Yorkshire stone. Several houses were known to have had thatched roofs in the past, but now they have stone slates or red pantiles. Steep gable ends and stone corbels are a common feature among the oldest properties. Follifoot, from a housing perspective, is truly Yorkshire at its finest. Similar to the one in Spofforth, Follifoot has a mounting block halfway up Main Street. Normally something like this would be a listed structure, but here in Follifoot that's not the case. English Heritage refused to list this in 2009 because it was deemed not unusual enough. Over the road is the primary school. This is linked to the school in Spofforth. Together, the two form the Federation of Follifoot and Spofforth Church of England primary schools. Remember, they're also linked in another way. Reverend James Tripp, who we met last week, built both schools in the 1840s. Next, we go up a narrow lane next to the school to find the village hall. Until the establishment of Follyfields, this was the only communal part of the village. It remains the main go-to place though. The hall, spacious, light and airy as it is available for all kinds of village events. Up to 120 people can be catered for from its fully fitted kitchen. It's here where we're able to mark Follifoot off our Harrogate list by way of the parish notice board. Next, we follow the lane as it twists and turns into a dead end. There's a local business to talk about up here. This building houses H.C. Townsend and Sons, a funeral directors who've been in business since 1927. That makes them the longest serving funeral directors anywhere in the Harrogate area. In that time, 4 generations of the same family have run their operation and they're still going strong today. Next, we follow a narrow footpath back to Main Street, and this will bring us out in what is effectively the centre of the village. The area we're heading for now has the local shop, the other pub, and a series of historical landmarks under the watchful eyes of the Rudding Gates. The pub is the Harewood Arms, which should not be confused with the establishment of the same name in Harewood itself. Ancient looking and with a quirky interior, this one has low ceilings with old timbers, plain walls and benches, and carpeted floors rather than flags. It even has Yorkshire sash windows at the front. Next door is the local shop and post office all rolled into one. It offers a newspaper delivery service and will even arrange dry cleaning too, apparently. That's what you want in a village community, people willing to go above and beyond the call of duty. Nearby is a bus shelter, and at the back is a wooden tablet erected in 1952 which lists all of those lost in the 2 world wars, 25 in total. Over the road, almost hidden in plain sight, are the old village stocks, which even have their own little canopy. Pretty cool. Beside those is the old red phone box, which has the defib machine. All of these landmarks are mentioned on a very detailed information board close to the green with the cross upon it. Anything I haven't put into this video about Follifoot can be read about on this. What a lovely walk around a historic little village. You know, every so often I come to a village, not knowing what to expect, like I did here with Follifoot, and I end up not wanting to leave it. I'll be honest with you, I don't really want to leave this place. It's so quiet and peaceful, it's just fantastic. It's brilliant. Everything we've seen in this episode I've loved thoroughly. I'm sure you have too. It's great. It's got everything. Well, most things that people need and want. And it just looks beautiful in the sunlight too. But alas, we have to move on to the next one. Before we do move on to the next one though, however, there is another landmark within the boundaries of Follifoot which I know certain people out there will enjoy seeing. I've got to actually try and find it first. It might not be an easy task. It's a tunnel. Let's see if we can spot it. Okay, so we've come to the west of Follifoot now on the road towards Harrogate, and off that road you'll find this track. It is a public footpath and cycles can use this as well. It's part of the national route number 67, which we've seen a couple of times. I wouldn't like to ride a bike down here at the moment though, because look at this, it's really sludgy and mucky. Now the reason we're here is because somewhere down here there's an old railway tunnel. Now I'm not quite sure where it is because on the map it's not the easiest thing to pinpoint, but I believe it's sort of over there-ish. Hopefully we can find it. No, that's not the tunnel we're after, but it is worthy of a mention. As I said on camera, this bridleway forms part of a cycle trail, Route 67, which we've met before in various other locations. I certainly wouldn't want to be on a bike along here at the moment though. As a cyclist, you might well miss the Prospect Tunnel as you ride past. This is located down a steep bank off the track, and it's long since been abandoned. This tunnel runs underneath the Follifoot Ridge and was opened as an extension to an existing line in 1858 by the Leeds and Thirsk Railway Company. The line it carried provided a link to Wetherby from the company's Harrogate to Leeds line. The remainder of the line into Harrogate involved other major engineering works, including the 31-arch Crimple Viaduct and a second tunnel. Both tunnels totaled 1,240 yards, and Prospect accounts for 825 yards of that. The whole venture cost the company £607,000. Prospect has 3 brick-lined ventilation shafts. It was down one of those shafts that 24-year-old banksman Ward Dickinson fell to his death in March 1847. The line closed in 1964. Well, of all the landmarks I've seen so far in and around Harrogate, that's one I don't recommend you try and visit yourself. I'm daft enough to do it, but please don't try it yourself, folks. It's very difficult to get down that bank. It's very steep, it's sludgy. There is a fence you can hold on to, but honestly, it's not a tourist attraction. But I'm daft enough to show you them, aren't I? All these little landmarks in and around the place, so that you don't have to, I suppose. That's the tunnel anyway. Time to move on from here, to move on from Follifoot and go on to our next one, where hopefully there are some safer landmarks to find. Close to the tunnel site is a sports club. This is Harrogate Rugby Football Club, located on Rudding Lane. The club run 3 senior men's sides, as well as a ladies team and 8 junior teams. They've been based here since 2014, after moving from their former Clara Road ground in Harrogate itself. The history of the club goes back to 1871, when it was founded as both a rugby and a football club. In 1914, the club decided to concentrate entirely on football only, and rugby union activities were split off into a new club called Harrogate Old Boys. This then merged with a second rugby club in 1936, eventually adopting its present name in 1945. And with that, I hit the John Metcalfe Way, the name given to this stretch of the A658 Harrogate bypass. It's named after the famous road builder, who you all know as Blind Jack. John was his given name at birth. His road dashes through the landscape here on its way to our next village, separating Follifoot from the Rudding Park Estate. We haven't yet spoken about that in any great detail, so to finish, here's a bit more about the estate and what you'll find on it should you come to visit. The Rudding Park Estate has a long history. It was originally part of the Forest of Knaresborough and still retains some ancient oak trees. In the early 18th century, it was owned in turn by the Williamsons of Wetherby, the Craddocks, James Collins, who planted the avenues in the park, and Thomas Wilson. In 1788, Alexander Wedderburn, Lord Loughborough and the future Lord Chancellor, acquired the estate and called in the garden designer Humphrey Repton to remodel the landscape. The estate was then purchased by William Gordon in 1805, and he was responsible for the construction of the present house. 19 years later, when the Radcliffes came along, the house was still unfinished, but they saw to it that it was completed. The architect Robert Chantrell oversaw its completion. It's a 2-storey building made of ashlar with a Westmoreland slate roof, designed in the style of the Wyatts. London architect A.E. Purdy designed a Gothic Revival chapel for the estate, which was built in 1874 for Sir Percival Radcliffe, the 3rd Baronet. The chapel is the size of a parish church, and it's constructed from Aberdeen granite and alabaster. Several generations of the Radcliffe family occupied the house for 150 years. In addition, several members of the Davies family served as coachmen. They lived in the Dower, and now they're all buried at Follifoot Cemetery. In 1972, the house and the 2,000-acre grounds which surround it were acquired by the Macinnes family, and they remain the owners to the present day. In recent times, the estate has been heavily developed, with the opening of Rudding Holiday Park in 1973 and the use of the house as a conference and banqueting centre in 1987. It also has an 18-hole golf course which opened in 1995, the signature hole of which is the 14th, known locally as the Rhododendron Glade. In 2010, an extension called the Follifoot Wing was built, with an additional 40 rooms, and in 2017, another new building was completed with a rooftop spa and gardens designed by Matthew Wilson. Again, TV fans might know the place well. The Granada series Seasons of the Year was filmed here. It consisted of 6 plays involving the various occupants of the house over a 150-year period from the Napoleonic Wars to the 1970s. In some ways, the series was almost a precursor to the later TV series Brideshead Revisited, where the house was almost a character in its own right. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.